The dark truth behind fast food beef. McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, Wendy's, which one are you craving? You probably have a favorite fast food chain you visit at least once a month. And what's better than a juicy burger? But have you ever wondered exactly what goes into the beef patties? Well, you're about to find out the truth behind the fast food beef you love so much, and it's definitely not what you think. Number 5, fast food beef ingredients are the stuff of nightmares. You might never eat a burger again after hearing this, but the ingredients that make up the beef in most popular fast food chains is not what you've been made to believe. First off, let's talk about what's actually in the 100% beef that most people love. Sure, it's technically beef, but it's not exactly the prime cuts you might be imagining. According to the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, a lot of fast food beef comes from something called trimmings. Trimmings are basically pieces of meat most commonly thrown away from steaks or roasts. But these trimmings aren't just the odd bits of steak that didn't make the cut. It also includes low-grade muscle tissue, animal skin, and head meat and feet meat. That's right, your fast food burger might contain bits from the head and feet of cows. And let's not forget about the additives. Fast food chains love to throw around terms like no fillers and 100% beef, but the reality is a bit more complicated. Many chains use additives to enhance flavor, improve texture, or extend shelf life. USDA allows up to 30% fat content to be in the ground beef, and you can bet that many fast food joints are pushing the limit. But here's where things get more irritating. Some fast food beef products might also contain something called variety meat. This can include organs like hearts, kidneys, and livers. And if all of that wasn't enough to turn your stomach, in 2015, Time magazine submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the U.S. Department of Agriculture asking about the strangest foreign objects consumers have reported finding in their hot dogs. People found everything from the tip of a razor blade to a needle. Now, hot dogs aren't burgers, but they're often made from the same kind of trimmings. Who knows what might be lurking in your fast food beef? Number 4, antibiotic overuse. The fast food industry is pumping their cattle full of antibiotics like there's no tomorrow. And honestly, there might not be a tomorrow if we keep this up. According to the FDA, 70% of all medically important antibiotics in the United States are sold for use in animals. Animals are not given these antibiotics because they're sick. It's all about keeping cattle healthy in crowded, unsanitary conditions and to make them grow faster. Now you might be thinking, so what? A few extra antibiotics never hurt anyone, right? Wrong, this overuse is contributing to one of the biggest health threats of our time, antibiotic-resistant bacteria. These bacteria are making their way into our food, and the damage they cause is unprecedented. A 2018 report by the National Resources Defense Council found that 22 of the top 25 U.S. burger chains received failing grades for their policies on antibiotic use in beef. Only 2 chains, Shake Shack and BurgerFi, were found to source beef raised without routine antibiotic use. But here's where it gets really scary. These antibiotic-resistant bacteria don't just stay in the cows. They spread to humans through the food we eat, the water we drink, and even through direct contact with animals. What does this mean for you, the unsuspecting fast food consumer? It means that your cheap burger might come with a side of superbug free of charge. It means that the medicines we rely on to treat common infections might stop working. It means that simple surgeries could become life-threatening operations. Number 3, the beef industry put profit over people during the pandemic. Just when you thought the fast food beef industry couldn't get any beefier with its problems, COVID-19 global pandemic put things into perspective. When COVID-19 hit, instead of prioritizing worker safety, the nation's top meat producers decided to keep the burger assembly lines rolling. A report by the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis revealed that the big beef producers were more concerned with their bottom line than the health of their workers. The report states that meat packing companies engaged in a concerted effort with Trump administration political officials to insulate themselves from coronavirus-related oversight, to force workers to continue working in dangerous conditions, and to shield themselves from legal liability for any resulting worker illness or death. While we were being told to stay home and social distancing, these companies were actively pushing to keep their workers shoulder to shoulder on the production lines. In 2020 alone, over 59,000 workers at the top 5 meat companies got infected with COVID-19. All this just so we could keep our drive-thrus open and our freezers stocked. These companies also had the audacity to argue that their employees should not be entitled to unemployment benefits if they are otherwise able to work through the pandemic. All of this shows just how fast food companies and their meat suppliers will do anything just to keep making profits. Number 2, rainforests are dying to feed our beef habit. The fast food beef industry's impact on global deforestation is a reality that many people may not realize. According to findings from the World Resources Institute, beef production is a primary culprit behind deforestation, contributing 5 times more to this environmental crisis than any other commodity. This means that every time we bite into a fast food burger, we're also taking a bite out of the world's most crucial ecosystems, particularly the Amazon rainforest. The scale of this destruction is difficult to fathom but becomes more tangible when we look at specific examples. Take JBS, one of the world's largest meat producers. This single company is responsible for the clearing of over 105,000 acres of Brazilian forests, an area roughly half the size of New York City. Even more staggering is the case of Cargill, another meat industry giant which has been linked to the deforestation of more than 151,000 acres in Brazil alone. The connection between your fast food beef burger and this environmental catastrophe is more direct than you might think. Nico Musi, former Europe director of the advocacy group Mighty Earth, stated, "It's a symbol that, if you eat beef without knowing it, you are eating a jaguar because their habitat has been destroyed to produce the soybeans that the cattle is being fed." Moreover, this deforestation cycle feeds into a larger environmental crisis. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, plays a crucial role in absorbing carbon dioxide and regulating global climate patterns. As vast swaths of this vital ecosystem are cleared for cattle ranching and soy production, we are accelerating climate change, disrupting weather patterns, and potentially pushing our planet towards environmental tipping points. Honestly, the fast food industry's relentless demand for beef is reshaping our world's landscapes in devastating ways. Number 1, the beef industry is blocking climate action. If you thought the environmental impact of fast food beef ended with deforestation, think again. The beef industry isn't just destroying forests, it's actively working to block climate action. To make things worse, they're trying to deceive us. If you look at the individual companies and how they claim to be working on climate change, their mitigation efforts focus on carbon dioxide, which is a small fraction of their emission across their supply chains. They should be talking about methane, which is the more potent greenhouse gas, especially when it comes to cows. We're not just talking about a few companies here and there, we're talking about industry giants like Tyson and National Beef Packing, 2 of the largest meat companies in the US. These companies have spent a considerable amount of time, money, and effort into downplaying the link between animal agriculture and climate change and into fighting climate policy more generally. Since 2000, groups backed by big beef producers have thrown a whopping $200 million into lobbying efforts aimed at stopping climate legislation that impacts meat production. U.S. beef and dairy companies appear to act collectively in ways similar to the fossil fuel industry, which built an extensive climate change counter-movement. It's a sobering thought that the same industry feeding our fast food addiction is also feeding us a lie about their environmental impact. It's not just the chemicals or antibiotics in the meat, they're also destroying our planet, all for money.